Hey everyone! Welcome to the Dawn of Andromeda release party stream. Today we are going to give you a small overview of what Dawn of Andromeda is, and we want to give you some kind of crash course to show you what you can do in the game, what kind of tactics there are, and how it basically works. So if you have any questions today, please drop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them, and we're going to take you through the game for about an hour. So yeah, basically let's go to the trailer and then jump right into the game.
When you look up to the Andromeda Galaxy, you are looking into the distant past. A past when Andromeda was rich with powerful civilizations, intrigue, uncanny tech, and wars. Many wars. In Dawn of Andromeda, 8 unique races strive to gain superiority. But minor races may evolve into galactic powerhouses, and new factions may join the fray mid-game. Discover artifacts and anomalies and much more, and trigger rewarding quests or new research avenues. Meet travelers, outlaws, and other characters that may have something special to offer. Experiment with multiple customizable victory conditions. Make allies and enemies. Consider each action and tread lightly, for political consequences can send shockwaves across the galaxy. Find your path to glory at the Dawn of Andromeda.
Oh gosh, and here we are again. Thank you for mute power. That is the power of double mute. Sorry guys, so for those of you who missed it, my entire introduction, which was probably one of the most interesting ones so far, so you guys missed quite a bit. But we are going to jump into a new game of Dawn of Andromeda, a sci-fi 4X game that is completely real-time. We have Saskia manning the couch here, and she's going to be taking any questions for you guys. Sorry for the short thing. I was not at all rude to you guys. I was very kind as always. So we're in the setting up a new game. We're into the different menus now. Here we have our race selection, so we can select a variety of races, and we can also create our custom races as well. So that's something you got full control over if you want to do that. You can set, for example, if I set added custom race, you can set the race appearance. You can change the flag you want to play with, and of course you can change all the racial traits as well as the ship type you want them to use. So there's quite a bit of flexibility there. Now we're not going to do that for now. We're going to pick one of the standard races. One of my favorites here are the Orlith Confederation. They are very much a tech heavy race, and they're quite interesting for that reason. But they're also pacifist, and that means they get extra penalties for being at war, which also makes you think about how you plan your wars, and they have to be over rather quickly. So I'm going to select them and I'm going to hit next, and here we can see something already that is quite unique to Dawn of Andromeda, is that we can set these starting positions and starting locations asymmetrical. So we can choose, for example, to start not just with a single colony, but just an expedition ship, while our opponents of the Terran Union can start as an advanced sized empire. So you can start as a small empire in between bigger ones, or as a big empire in between smaller ones, or any way you want to match this yourself. So we have a couple of extra options right down here, and they're going to be available later on as we progress through early access. And so we're going to set our own game right now. So first I'm going to remove a couple of enemies. I don't want to get a full house. You can also actually add your custom races as opponents, which is also quite interesting. And we are going to set a medium-sized empire for us. So last time we started, when we did a stream for the first time, we started all anew. This time we're going to start with a medium-sized empire, so we can see a bit more of the mid-game. And some of our enemies will as well, or perhaps we can set them to start as something random, which is also, you don't know what they will start as. They could be huge empires, they could just start with an expedition ship.
So Bart, there's a question from Nekoraxel. if I'm pronouncing that right, because that's a tricky name. He's asking, can you import appearance race or ship appearances for custom races? I don't think you are able to do that, right? You can pick the ones that already exist, and you can give them your own settings.
Exactly, that's the way it's currently is. So you can pick the existing ones, and there's definitely options to add more as development of the games go along. But in order to import your own, that requires quite a bit of modding knowledge. As far as I can tell, there is no real easy way of doing that at this point in time. So continuing setting the game options, so we have to choose the size of the galaxy we want to use, to choose the how available some resources are, how many habitable planets we will find, how many pirate factions there are, and of course minor races, which is also something quite interesting, because minor races may start out as insignificant races, and but they can actually grow to become major powers and start colonizing themselves. So you got this very living universe that is continually evolving. And we got the general game difficulty, so I'm going to leave them all to the default values for now, but this is something, as you can see, if you grab the game yourself, you can tweak as much as you want.
Alright, so Bart, can you tell us something about what kind of languages will be localized for this game? Do you know anything about that yet?
Sure. So, I mean, nothing is 100% final yet, but for the early access period, we're going to be supporting English only. We are also looking at some other languages, such as German and Russian. And I think it also depends quite a bit on, on you guys, on the community, asking for it, requesting it, and showing your support for your particular language. So we are here at our introductory screen, and there's one of these unique to the art pieces for each of the factions in there. So we are a theocracy, and we are known for advanced scientific experiments, and that's of course why I chose this race. As someone said in the chat earlier, science is king. So
and all the races, they basically have their own wallpaper and their own really nice traits. So it doesn't really matter which race you play, they all have a really nice different style to them.
And in addition to that, they also have their own dialogues when you meet them in diplomacy, which is something we will see quite soon. And here we are presented with another thing that sets Dawn of Andromeda quite a bit apart, is that we have to select our council. So your council consists of 5 people, and they will be very important throughout your campaign, because they give specific buffs or penalties depending on their character traits, depending on their experience, and depending on the type of government you have. So each of these have specific alignments and have specific traits, and you need to be aware of them. So generally, I like to have a good mix of council members to start with. So we're going to find that now. This guy, for example, has the Born Leader trait, which means that he improves the happiness of by 8% of all remaining council members. So he's very good to have there. And also very good is, for example, the guy we have over here, Shatara, if I think. He's very good, a quick learner, so he'll earn experience very quickly, so he's good as well. And we got a couple of easygoing guys. They're not perhaps ideal, but they tend to go with whatever, so they won't be bothersome. And there's one here in particular I want to keep as a potential governor, because he develops research infrastructure very quickly, so that's very important for our race. So I want to keep him out of the council to make him a governor of our main planet. So I have to choose one more. Let's just go for him. And then we have to start researching. So we're looking at the research tree right here. We have 3 different categories for research, and they all have their own trees and sub-trees, etc. So there's quite a lot to find here. There are some things that are still hidden, some things that might be slightly randomized even. And we're going to start with researching. I mean, we already have quite a bit, because we started as a medium-sized empire. So we got some nice bombs. We got a Fisher drive already. So we could focus that. Or we could start improving our shield technology, which is a bit behind apparently. So it will take us 2 weeks to research this. So let's select that.
So Bart, since this game will be early access, like Canubislel is asking, which is also another very complicated name, what exactly does the developer plan on adding before it leaves early access? Is it new content-wise, or more like bug fixes and balances?
Yeah, I mean, actually all of that. So I mentioned the era video or games while I was muted. So that is definitely something that's coming. They are sort of like a story-driven or more mission-based with particular events popping up relevant to that specific scenario. So they're more mission type of games, if you will, than fully sandbox. And on top of that, there are also, more things planned with regards to diplomacy, how we're going to evolve that. But a good chunk of that is not set in stone yet, because it also very much depends on what you guys are looking for or asking for. If you guys think that stuff really needs to change or to alter, I mean, let us know in the forums. We have our own plan for what we want to do with it, but we're obviously very interested in what you guys have to say to us. So please drop by on the forums and share your thoughts. In addition, of course, bug fixes. Yes, I mean, this game is in early access, so we can expect some bugs. We think we have a fairly stable build right here, but of course issues might erupt or might come into be, and they're going to be taken care of, definitely.
Alright, and regarding mod and mod support, like Creature of Existence is asking, is there any chance of that coming into the game, or are there no plans for it right now?
There are no real plans for like a full mod support as you'd have in some games. I mean, it might very well be possible to mod the game to a certain extent, but we're not providing any tools for it at this point.
Alright, Bart, so what are we looking at?
So I just started my game. We can see my small empire right here. We haven't discovered that far outside, but we've got a good number of planets and a couple of planets within our sphere of influence that we can still very much colonize. So that's going to be the first thing I want to do. So the empire consists of several planets, and each planet has its own levels for infrastructure, its own buildings, as we can see here. So we got housing infrastructure, industry, and research. And this game is very much about streamlining. So we are trying to keep you away from micromanagement and streamline as much as possible of the game. So here we can see the same categories, and we can invest points to upgrade them, and it costs some money on a weekly basis, and the more we invest, the faster they will grow, but of course with a limit, and the limit is very much dependent on your technology. So we already have level 2 housing here. If we want to increase that further, we would need to improve our technology first in order to get up to level 3 housing. So leaving that particular area right here, so I just set my priorities for development. They're quite balanced, and we're going to leave here and we're going to have a quick look at the map. So what we want to do is I'm going to gather my forces in one place, so I get rightfully assess what we have, and I'm going to send out my scouts to discover new planets. And as you can see here, the game is fully real time. I can zoom in and zoom out all the way to see the full galaxy. And of course the camera automatically tracks movement of ships, so you get some very, very nice shots, and like the one right here. Alright, so let's start building a couple of colony ships to start colonizing the worlds that are already close to us. Colony ships can be built everywhere, you just need to have the right amount of money. We have a fair bit amount of cash, so we can start doing that. I also need to invest perhaps a bit more in food, because if our population grows any bigger, we might run into the risk of getting a malus there. So I already started to invest in there from our capital, but other planets need to follow as well. Actually, let's build a colony ship right here. So our troops are gathering. Our first scout is scouting ahead. I might build a couple more actually, because I want to know what's out there.
So what kind of stuff can you find with a scout? Are there very crazy interesting things to find?
So the exploration part of the game is quite intricate. There are a good number of things to find. Obviously, we're looking for potential allies or opponents. That's definitely one thing we're looking for. The other thing could be space anomalies or debris that could be surveyed with a specific surveyor unit, and that could bring specific bonuses like additional research points, more speed, or just money. You could even find specific artifacts that have any type of buff to them, or at least to the one that holds them, and you can even trade these with other empires again. So there's quite a lot to find. Also people, we just found another faction who appear to have at least one planet, 2 actually, and they are selling some good stuff, so we might be buying some of their stuff. And our first research is complete, so we're going to queue up a couple more. So we got our new shield, which is going to be very useful. We got fairly advanced beam weapons, so I'm quite happy with that, but I want to increase my let's have a look. I want to get better engines, really, so that might be the way to go. Or I can increase my food production by investing in nano farms. So let's start with that and go for the solid fuel actions after, and then for the sustainable solar cities, which allow us to get more housing and thus more people, which of course equals more money. The game should be available on Steam right now, guys. So I think we just went live a couple of minutes ago. So
yep, we just went live, and I just posted a link in the chat. So if you want to take a look at the Steam page, you can now click there and go right to it.
Alright, so we're now colonizing the planets around us. It's very simple. Just select the colony ship you got, right click the colony you want to colonize, and the ship will automatically go there and know what to do. So we start colonizing a bit, and after we can start seeing what we want to do with the Yunnan here. And they're quite interesting faction. They're like balls of energy.
They're my favorite. I think they're really cute and interesting.
And we're gonna see if they come to be friends or enemies or rivals of us. So we're gonna continue exploring. And I think we built some additional scouts right here, so we're going to send them out to explore as well. You can explore manually. You can also set your scouts to auto-explore by hitting the particular button over here, and that will enable or disable that feature. It should also be noticed that we've found a good number of colonies also directly to our north, so there's good room for expansion, even though we started already with a couple of planets. So that could be very interesting to do indeed. First, however, we need to tend to our new colonies. You can see they start out small, and we need to invest to make them grow. I'm going for a more of a balanced approach at this point in time.
So Bart, I have another question from Creature. It's maybe a pretty big question that you want to cut in half, but he's basically asking, how does trade and diplomacy work in this game? Now, I know that's a big question, but
that is a huge question, but a very interesting one.
And we will get there probably.
So trade is something that I can get into quite quickly, which is right over here. If you have a spare resource of something, you can offer it for trade, and these are strategic resources, so you don't need these to build your ships, but they offer specific buffs like increased speed, more damage, or you can just buy and sell food. If you look over at the Empire screen, you can see what strategic resources you already have access to and what exactly they do. So we got the Tsar Spice, for example, which increases the living conditions on my colonies by 1. We have the Plutonium, which speeds up ship production by 20%. And we have Potassium, which actually fertilizes the ground and gives us a 20% faster food infrastructure development. So those things are interesting, and if I got spare ones of that, say I only need 1 and I'm making 2 or 3, it could be very worthwhile to start selling some of them. So selecting a planet that's close to the border, you can hit the trade menu right here. You can see the resources where you may have a surplus on. For example, in potassium we have +3, on plutonium we have 1, and we can hit the export button, and we're offering it for trade right now. So if trade ships come to us, join us, they can actually take our resources, pay for it, and start trading that and bring their buffs to their own faction. So diplomacy is the other big part, and that's a very important feature in this game. That is something that a lot of love and a lot of thought went into, and that's something we're gonna cover in a bit. Like I said before, each race has their own unique dialogue options. Your standing between races very much depends on like your type of government, on what you did before, on how you relate to them. Did you study their culture at all? how you reacted in previous treaties, if you are allies with their enemies or stuff like that. So there's a whole lot to it, and we're going to see a breakdown pretty quickly of that. First, however, let me just quickly expand a bit more and discover a bit more of the world around us.
Yeah, we will definitely get to the diplomacy part. I mean, it's a huge part of the game, so don't worry about it. You'll see something. Anyways, Bart, another question from Javelberg is, will there be a random setting added for factions so we don't know what their goals will be?
So currently, yeah, I mean, yes, that is definitely what we want. So we want you, if you want to, not to know anything about the starting conditions of your enemies. So that is definitely within, you know, the thought of the game, within the main design ideas. It's the same goes when we selected our enemies to spawn, however, you know, randomized, so we didn't know if they spawn as a single ship or as an entire nation. The same we want to do definitely with victory conditions.
Right, and then another one for now from Nicorexol is or is it? I'm sorry, this is from Canubisius. This one is the game pace the same, kind of like Stellaris, or is it a bit faster? And then he says, I'm not talking about game speed where you can change it to 2 times or 4 times faster, but more like the general progression and the stuff that, you know.
Yeah, so generally speaking, you will find that this game is a bit more quick-paced than most of the other games around. So it is a bit lighter in some ways, and it is very much more streamlined because you won't be dealing so much with micromanagement. It will probably be faster. If you decide, however, to play everything on slow speed, you know, you want the real-time stuff but not the pausable stuff, then it can take a significant time, of course. But generally speaking, I'd say it is a bit of a shorter game.
Alright, well, I guess that answers your question then.
Alright, let's see what we have to research next. We could increase our farms again, or we could start, you know, get some nice weapons out. Let's do that. Let's focus on some more weapons. So we want to have the kinetic drive, which has a which is a fairly good beam weapon. Or should we focus on missiles, which can also be quite interesting? Let's go for the beam weapons for now.
So Bart, are there keyboard shortcuts for pausing the game and continuing again?
Yes, definitely. So whatever speed you are, hitting spacebar will pause the game, as you can see here. And hitting spacebar again will continue it. So you can do that very quickly on the fly, and it is, you know, it's the way I personally like to play. I know there are a couple of RTS players that really like to do their own thing to keep it going for a while. But I very much use the pause and play mechanic, yes.
Yeah, because some of you guys tuning in, if you didn't know yet, Dawn of Andromeda is actually a real-time strategy game, not a turn-based game as you would, well, usually see. So that makes it pretty unique as well. So just another question before we go on is, what is the vision for combat AI in this game as well as the challenge? That's a tough one, maybe.
Right, so, I mean, those things are a challenge for every game, right? You want to make combat very intricate on the one hand. On the other hand, you don't want the player to be able to use tactics or stuff that the AI can't understand, and that would render them exploits. So we're very much still trying to find a balance over there. So, for example, we do have specific abilities you can use on individual ships. If you give them specific modules, which is something we are going to cover as well later on. But we made sure that the AI knows how to use them as well, and also made that available for the player in the idea that we're not going to do, we're not going to force you to micromanage. You can actually set your ships to use these abilities automatically, just as the AI does. So that also forced us to teach the AI how to use all these things and how to make use of every tool that the player has to himself available as well. So continuing on, we're finding a lot more of the universe around us. You can see our ships flying about. They're just harmless scout ships, so no one's really attacking them. There's something else interesting going on here. We found like old debris, and we did a survey of it, but let's see, it gave us some additional money, but it didn't find anything that would grant us long-term benefits. So we got another survey opportunity right here, if the AI will let us. there is a space dust that we could find. And the Terran is greeting us. So this is part of the diplomacy again. We're meeting them for the first time. They greet us. And the Terran is a bit annoyed. Not really sure who you are. Can't deal with you now. New alien race? Could you fill in this form in triplicate and come back Tuesday? Alright, we'll do that.
So pretty much bureaucratic humans.
Exactly how you would expect them to be. So time to colonize a bit more. If I'm going too fast, guys, if there's stuff I'm skipping that you think you're missing, or you want stuff to explain a bit more, by all means ask. We can very much cater to that need.
Speaking about asking, we've got a question from our good friend Manson. Familiar face, welcome back. He's asking how asymmetrical would you say the races are, because he noticed that not everyone starts on the same footing.
Right, so there are two different things here. The starting positions are not specific to each race. You can set them individually for each race, but they're not a racial trait. So it's not like the humans have this particular start every game. You can choose, I want to have the humans start as an empire or as an expedition ship or anything in between. And that goes for every race. So that's as asymmetrical as you want it to be as the player, as the one who makes the game. For the races itself, at the moment, they are different by obviously the models they use, the colors they use, but also the traits. So our race in particular is good for research. They have a couple of other things, them being pacifists, so they will get a significant prosperity hit when being at war for a prolonged time. So there are differences there, but there is also room for improvement there, and that's something we're definitely aware of, and something that we'd like to see, we'd like to work on during early access. Right, so we got our colony ships being finished right here, and we're going to send them up. Also, right over here, you might have noticed some of these icons, these little alien heads. These represent minor races, and minor races are quite important in this game because first of all they can grow to be major races and then start colonizing themselves if they become technologically advanced enough, but also you can use them as bargaining chips, as buffer zones. You can claim them as their protection, so they become a protectorate of yourself, which is what we're going to do right now, and they basically become under our influence, and they might actually give some gifts every now and then if you have good standing with them, if they trust you. So that's also something you can make use of. And you're going to be competing with the other major races for, who's going to have the influence over these particular races. The Kalzur is greeting us. Hello. Nice to meet you. So we have a very fortunate starting position here, but although we are in a bit of a isolated, as it will, we can't really progress this way, so we have to cross several different factions, but they're like all over the place, they're mixed, they're going to be fighting quite a bit, I assume. The only one who seems to be pretty tough right now are these guys, are the Commonwealth. The Terran have 2 planets, or 3 probably. But other than that, not a whole lot there.
So Bart, Kira is asking if there are weapons or other things that can travel between stars without using those star lanes. I don't think there are there?
No, they're not currently in game. I know that Mike, the lead developer from Grey Wolf Entertainment, the developer behind this game, is actually looking into alternate ways of travel for perhaps late game, but it's not something that's planned for now. So there we go. We're slowly but steadily expanding our territory, and we need to start developing this land. So let's start doing that right now. Again, going for a bit of a balanced approach, and soon we're going to start designing our ships, and we're going to see some combat there, because obviously I want to expand, and it will probably be at the cost of the Yunnan over here, who have a very strategically located system which covers this entire arm. So that will be my first target. And taking this planet will be the first step toward that.
So would you recommend that as a first kind of tactic, to just attack them instead of making friends? I mean...
there are many things you can do. Because of the way the diplomacy system works, officially you need a casus belli, so you need a valid reason for war before you can start one. If you don't, you will get the warmonger trait, like you're attacking someone for no apparent reason, and that will give you a significant hit in your relations with the other factions. But since I have so few relations, and since I'm so well protected being in my own little corner, that I think I can get away with that.
Right, so it would actually be one of the best things to do now that you still can, right?
It could very well be, yes, but it also depends very much on your starting position and on the way you yourself want to handle and want to be known. This game is also fairly good if you want to do more of a role-playing thing. Now, the AI, smart as it is, feels our threat, so the Anon are actually offering us a non-aggression pact, and they are willing to pay for it quite a bit of money. I'm going to decline, and because of that, they will probably know what's going to happen to them. But I'm going to wait for my kinetic drive technology to finish, and then I will start designing some new ships for that. The ones I have are quite alright, but they're a bit outdated now. I've just researched new shields in between, or since then, and as well as some new beam weapons. So I will use them just as cannon fodder, or perhaps just for patrolling my other systems. But yes, the Anon are the only way to expand. We just saw this system change hands. So that's going to be an interesting war already.
So we've got another question from Harvankar. It's asking, are planetary invasions done per planet or per system?
Very good question. Planetary invasions are done per planet. So you have to siege each planet individually. So in this case, if I were to attack this system, I'd have to attack them one by one. They might have satellites defending them. They might have ships defending them. But the planetary invasion mechanics themselves are fairly streamlined. So you just basically bomb them into submission.
Alright, thanks for answering.
We're gonna position our garrison force right here, and now we're gonna start designing and building an invasion force that we're gonna use. We also found an interesting satellite that we could study. It's quite far away, but that's something for the future. So our scouts are still, discovering new things, new minor races, new colonizable planets, new stuff to discover, to research, and to make use of. So first, let's select a new technology to research. I want to invest more in my research since we're almost at our research cap. So I'm gonna start researching some tags that will heighten that cap for me, and that will allow me to keep my my technological edge over my enemies. And I'm gonna start designing a ship. So we're gonna go into ship design, and again, it is a fairly streamlined system. First, I'm gonna remove my older designs. I'm no longer gonna be using them. And I'm going to create a new one. So there are three types of hulls, and there's the station hull, which of course is just a satellite, so that can't really move. You can't really equip engines on it. We're going to go do some heavy ships. We're going to give it our new engine, the solid fuel engine, and we're going to give it our new defense mechanisms. So we got some shields there, as well as some beam weapons. We might actually, let's see if these have any additional perks. Yeah, so this one's very interesting as well. I'm going to give them 2 beam weapons and 1 shell missile. And the shell missile actually gives them a chance of disabling the enemy engines. So that way I can split up their troops or their ships and take them out one by one. A bit easier, so that will add some tactics into the game. We also have special modules, and these will get bigger as you research. So for example, I could get the bombing module, which allow me to much quicker deal with enemy planets. But there's also the repair unit, the extra shield charge, and this will continue. The list will continue to grow as you advance in technology. So having selected all these items, we can see the stats of the ship right here. We can see it's a heavy ship. We can set the icon, and we can see the tonnage. So we have 60 tonnage in total. We are using 58 right now, so we can't really add anything more to it. So now all we need is a name over here. So we're gonna call this one the Necorexial. As a thank you to all your questions.
That is
Okay.
nice of you.
Rexel. There we go. And that will be the main ship with which we will launch our first invasion. So let's queue up the production for it.
So, speaking about questions again, we have some questions about the ships. So, I'm just gonna call you Ken because it's easy. Your name is kind of difficult. He's asking, I'm a Sins of Solar Empire player. Tell me how many ships you can build for your military. I don't expect the same scope of Sins. Is it similar to Battlefleet Gothic Armada where you have like 5 or 6 max? And then another question, how many different ship types are there and will they have abilities?
Right, so the question on the ship types, we just covered briefly. So there are 3 different hull types basically, and you can, change them and alter them all you want with your technologies and give them some abilities, such as repair or additional damage or whatever, causing fire on enemy planet or on enemy ships. So that type of stuff we got. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
The other one was about how big of a fleet you can build.
Right, yeah, so I've played games myself. I mean, you start off pretty small, but you can get fleets up to 60, 70 ships in medium-sized games, and even a bit more in the very large ones if you want to. But generally speaking, your fleets will probably be a bit smaller than you're used to in Sins of the Solar Empire, where you had a lot of smaller ships as well. So I think just a bit smaller on average. Though that could also very much depend on your playstyle, of course. If you want to build a lot of small ships, your numbers will easily grow a lot further. And we found some interesting right here. So we examined a resource right here, and it gives us an additional research point if we exploit it. So I'm using my survey ship to do that right now. It is, behind enemy lines, so it won't survive long once we start the war, but we'll see how long it lasts.
So Bart, about research, can you queue up future research or do you have to pick it every time on the spot?
No, you can queue them up. So for example, if after my current research I want to research some nice better missiles, I can just add that to the queue, and there it goes.
Alright, so yeah, that's your answer, Necroraxel.
So yeah, I mean, you can micro your fleet as much as you want. If you don't want to micro them, you can let the AI do their job. You can also let the AI auto-use your abilities. But these are big sizes. Generally speaking, especially in early game, your fleets will be a lot smaller. You would use invasion fleets of 5 to 10 ships, for example. And we have a threat right here. We have noticed your empire is in dire need of protection. Actually, we're not, so I'm going to ignore that. So these are pirate factions. And there's an amoeba found. Where is that?
So by declining them, you won't piss them off or anything?
Yes, you could very well piss them off, obviously, but they're far away, and I know I am well protected. So it's just an empty threat at this point. If I were just starting with 1 or 2 colonies and then they were right next to me with a fleet, then yes, their words would be a lot more convincing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, what are you doing? And the Aethys want to sign a non-aggression pact, and they're offering us 1,000. Since we are running out of money rapidly because we're building our fleet, that's a very good proposal. Actually, let's take this chance to look a bit further into diplomacy. Alright, so here we can see the different factions that are currently on the map. These are the major races that we've seen before, as well as some of the pirate clans that we just discovered. We also have a number of individual characters which we can use, buy stuff for, or hire for stuff. For example, to fight with us. So that could also be interesting if you want that bit of extra power. These can also be council members that are very good for your council. But in this case, we're going to look right over here, and we have a specific relationship with each of these factions, and they have quite a lot of modifiers. So if I hover my mouse right over here, you can see a lot of them. So for example, with the Yunnan Commonwealth, we currently have actually good relationships. They have studied us and understand us. They consider us technologically advanced. They see that we're military, we're strong, so they want to like us. And they're scared of our technological power, which also works. But it also has the negative, of course. They're scared for us, so that will cause them to dislike us to some degree, and depending on the different government types, etc., it will have different impact. We have different political views. They are expansionist, so they don't quite, they want some room to grow, and we're not giving that to them. We have the deceptive nature traits. We trick them a bit into liking us. They don't quite like one or more of our council members. That gives us a -3, and they feel we can coexist peacefully. Of course, we feel otherwise, but that's just some of the modifiers that impact your relationship with any specific faction, and that's quite interesting because each of these individuals can change. So it's quite a complicated mix of calculations as to how you relate to a specific empire. So that's for the bases, and what we are going to do, since we don't have enough influence to fabricate a casus belli, we're just going to have to surprise them and start a war. So the planets we're after, these two, initially this one, and then we'll move south to this one, should be easy pickings. They're disconnected from their main power source.
So there's another question from Stormwind Viper. He's asking, is the tag tree randomized?
Partially. So some of the tags you don't know, but the basics of the tag tree are set in stone, so they're going to be the same every time. But of course, the way you start and with which technologies you start depends very much on what starting positions you set. Because it started as a medium-sized empire, I will have some tags unlocked already. Let's see, so we have about 14 ships right here, and I think that's going to be plenty to deal with the Yunnan. I did see, however, a colony ship slip through, so they might be off to colonize this one. So I need to get some ships ready to deal with that, or at least to hold the line when they do come for us. Thankfully, for the extra money we got from the other faction or from the other race, we'll have enough money to pay for a small garrison, and we use our old ships to hold this particular area until our invasion fleet is ready. So let's start and move towards them.
Well, Storm and Viper just bought the game, so that's pretty awesome.
Awesome, hope you enjoy it, and be sure to leave your feedback on the forums. Alright, so that's going well. I'm going to speed up quite a bit here. And we have a political storm brewing. We have received a report from our intel services that that one of our council members has been caught money laundering and corrupt officials. So what can we do? We can try and cover it up, which costs us some influence, which we don't have. We can let the law officials handle it, and it's going to hit our prosperity rating, or we can just expel him from the council and get rid of him completely. I'm inclined to do just that. Let's let's expel him. There we go. And let's see if we can hire someone from the diplomacy screen. So this guy, for example, is a liberal. He's quite interesting because he's a populist, so that will give us an empire-wide happiness bonus. So I'm going to hire him, and I'm going to appoint him to my council. Where is he? Oop. It's vacant. Or did he not want me? Or did he just change his look? Anyway, let's just deal with this quickly. So we're gonna appoint the vacant council. Ah, there he is. Yes. Character pool right here. All right, so we can replace him later on.
So that's when something happens to one of your council members, you can actually get new ones from a pool.
Yes, so sometimes new one will fill up the pool. Sometimes you can hire new ones if you really need to. There are different ways that you gain council members, basically. Sometimes it's just that a promising guy just joins in and says, I'd like to join the council, and if you have a spot available, or if you want to kick out somebody else, you can do so. So we arrived at the enemy planet. They do have some defenses. Here we can see their defensive station. They have a lot of missiles on them, but they're a bit old tech. But still, it's quite a strong opponent. So we're going to take them on one by one. So we're going to head to the diplomacy screen and we're going to declare war.
So this is where it gets really interesting, huh?
Exactly. So we declared war. We declared war without a valid reason. So we gained the warmonger trait and people will hate us for that. What that will do basically is that other factions will now seriously distrust us for a very long time to come. But again, since we are not bordering any other factions, I feel like I can take the risk.
So that trait will it actually disappear when you change your behavior?
It will. It's a time trait, so it will disappear after some time. Let's see.
Right.
So we're firing at the enemy station right now. I just slowed down time a bit. We can see the missiles flying. We can see the beam shooting. And of course, what we hope to achieve is what we have right here. We fried the weapons of that ship with our damage, with our blast. So that means that that ship won't be able to retaliate, or that station, I should say. And we should be able to take it out without a lot of damage. And now we can start to siege it. So we're going to do that. And that we're basically going to bomb it into submission. So we can see the beams coming off of it. And we can see the defense value of the planet dropping. And when it drops to 0, the planet in question will be ours. So they did not, they were not ready for us, or at least they don't have enough troops in the area. Again, this is a bit of a part of space that's quite far away for them. And we're blocking the access road as well.
So One Sun Mirror is asking, do people you meet later on also view you as a warmonger? And what about people who don't like your new enemies?
So even people who don't like my new enemies, who hated them or were at war with them, they still distrust us because they still see us as someone who attacks someone without a valid reason, so without a good excuse, essentially. So you're just making war for the sake of making war, or for the sake of pure expansion. And if they fear that that's your reason, they're going to fear that they're next. So they won't like you for it. But again, after a while, you know, the trait wears off. If you're going to be a good kind guy for a while, they will forgive you. I mean, policies change. Now we're going into the second station. And I should say that one of the reasons we got such an edge in advance is again because of that asymmetrical starting position. There might even be empires. For example, the atheists right over here that we signed a non-aggression pact with, they are becoming very big and very strong as well themselves. They got a lot of room for expansion. We got I think the Dracos right over here. We don't even know how strong they are, what they have in these planets, so there is a lot still to discover. And then again, minor races could pop up as well and become their own empires. So we're taking our second city, or our second planet. Something to note, of course, is that once we've taken this planet, we will have full control of this arm, at least to the entry point toward it. But some other factions have already found their way there. So the atheists, or the atheist faction, whom we have a non-aggression pact, and the Terran. So the Terran could be our potential next victims.
So Bart, a famous question: how about multiplayer? Are there any plans for that?
There are no plans for multiplayer. This is going to be purely a single player experience. It's completely tailored for the single player, especially with light of the era video, or the era modes that are coming later on. So we have these two planets now. We got some room for expansion over here, so let's start by first selecting actually I didn't want you there. We're going to develop the land. They're already doing it, so that's good. There we go. And we're gonna send take our invasion fleet and send it to the next planet, or to the next system, I should say. We're also gonna claim protection of these guys. So they're a minor nation, level 2 technology, so they're not very interesting at this point in time, but hopefully in time I can convince them to join my empire. But already, just to annoy the Yunnan. The Drekos declare a friendship with us, so they like us, they want to suck up to us. And the Atheists claimed protection of a minor race as well, so they're already expanding their influence. We're moving up. I'm going to speed up a bit again, just to show you, as much as possible in as little time as we have. We have the research complete, so we queued up a couple, so they're just going to continue automatically, and we're going to... we have a counter fleet right over here.
Oh shit. Now we get some combat right at the end.
So they are a bit smaller than we are, so I think we should be able to get them. Notice that their ships look very distinct from ours, so each race has their very own unique way they look. So we're using our fodder first to deal the initial blow. We're going to target some of their weaker ships first. And we're going to send our main fleet behind it, and they're the real damage dealers. They have the upgraded lasers. They also have the upgraded shields. We can see like a whole lot of firepower being focused on the enemy. Again, so I'm slowing this down significantly. If you're not that interested in the combat itself, you can speed it up, let the AI do it. I quite like to see it out, watch it. We can see a large fleet right over here, and we can. I'm trying to cause some engine failures amongst them, but no luck there. It is a random chance, of course. But some of our own ships have EMP damage as well, which is also nice. But it's not really working so far. But that's not really needed. We're dealing a lot of damage, and we're in a great position for a counterattack.
So Bart, do these ships have upkeep costs?
Very good questions. Yes, they do have upkeep costs. It is something we're paying for. If I had to my Empire Management Finance screen, we can see that we're currently paying 32 credits a week, I think it is, for ship upkeep.
And this upkeep, how is it calculated? Is it based on module tech level or ship size? Or
it's based on a per ship level.
All right.
So different techs do come with higher costs, but they're mostly investment costs initially, just to purchase the ship, not so much to keep the flow. That is something, an interesting idea actually, to make that, attach a higher cost to that. Also notice that our prosperity has decreased, and prosperity is quite an important rating. If your empire is prosperous, which is not the same as being wealthy yourself, but your citizens being wealthy, having good lives, you'll have higher approval ratings, you'll get more tax income, so it's all together the better deal. But we're taking a hit now because we are pacifists. Our people are pacifists, and they don't like us being at war at all, and war is not at all what our society is built for. So our society is having trouble dealing with it. So I should keep war, as short as possible, and to get my prosperity back up, because at the moment it's deteriorating even further. We're going into a minus if we keep up this war long enough.
And how many different weapons are there? I'm not sure if you already showed it, but Root just came here and is asking about it.
All right, so let's have a quick look at the tech screen again then, because there are a couple of main weapon branches, right? So we got beam weapons, we got like blaster weapons, and we got missiles. But for each of them, we have several different types, and each bring their own specific buffs and debuffs. So some might cause fire, other might cause EMP issues like we've seen before. So the effects of the different weapons are quite different, and you can modify them further by having increased modules, be it weapon hack modules that we have right here, for example, so that can disable the enemy ship for about 20 seconds, or bomb modules that allow you to siege better. So there's quite a lot of variety, and you can combine these as well, so you don't have to choose one specific weapon type for one specific ship. You can combine these at will. So we're taking the planet right here, and I think that's going to be one of our final actions for tonight. Time has progressed pretty quickly.
Yeah, time flies. We're almost at the end, but I hope you guys enjoyed this hourly overview thing that we did today, and I hope that you liked our small introduction and answering your questions. If you have more questions, you can always drop them in the Steam forums, and of course check it out on social media as well.
And okay, so we're gonna leave it at that for now. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you for all your questions. Of course, you know, 1 hour is not nearly long enough to cover a full 4X with all its features, but we hope we've given you an interesting glimpse of some of the things that make this game stand out a bit compared to the others. We'd like to guys to give it a try and to check in on the forums. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yes, bye guys, have a nice day.